It is great to have you on the Family Goals podcast with David Pollack and Pastor Jay. I'm Joel House, and on this podcast, we want to encourage you to grow closer to God, to strengthen your marriage, and to inspire your family to reach its highest potential. Today on the podcast, we discuss having a faith of your own. Check it out.
So, Eli, you really don't want Pastor Jay's signature?
He said, I'm good. Hard pass.
We've got the sixth grade. Which what?
He's got Pollack and Stinchcomb. He said he's good.
All right, you're like old school, aren't you?
He doesn't want the...
What about any of the new players?
Yeah, I like that. Even though he wasn't born when we were playing, but that's beside the point. I love that you're still rocking the LSU gear, though. That's good.
Well, I realized this morning that I wasn't wearing this during the game.
Ah.
That could be why we lost to Ole Miss.
That could be why... Wait.
And I didn't get.
Yep, Ole Miss just scored again.
I didn't get in the hot tub. I didn't get in the hot tub at halftime. Like, that's kind of like, well, wear my shirt, then I get in the hot tub at halftime. But we had some visitors over for the week.
You get in the hot tub at halftime of the football game?
Yeah.
Why?
It's good luck. I love getting in the hot tub.
I mean, you do this like every game.
Don't you love the hot tub?
Yes, but so at 3:30, a 12 o'clock game, you're getting in the hot tub at halftime.
Well, it's more like a Saturday night thing.
So only the night games.
Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason.
Sounds like it's working.
But also, Joel didn't come over and watch it with me, so that was another.
Gee.
I was watching it with Rowan, who's not really a sports guy, but he decides to pull for Ole Miss because his grandfather went there, and I'm like,
I love that. So you had the back and forth of him pulling for Ole Miss. Yeah. I like that a lot.
I'm like, Rowan, you're never going to come over to my house.
You're not invited back.
LSU's defense, they don't even know how to tackle.
It's ungood.
Can we send you down to Red Stick and teach these guys how to tackle?
I mean, I don't think Georgia's has been much better. If you watched them against Auburn, it was pretty bad too. I mean, not great tackling. I mean, obviously not to the Ole Miss level.
I didn't see that game.
It was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good game till late.
I was in
Brock Bowers, the human video game, the guy that's the human cheat code took over and just ended it.
He dominated.
My wife was sitting on the couch and she goes, I don't get it. And I said, what? In the first half, she goes, why don't we just get it to Bowers every play? And then the second half, we basically did that and we scored, 21 points or something. Like it was like, that's the most profound thing you've ever said.
Kirby need to bring in Lindsey.
I think he's good.
The booth calling plays.
Yeah, I think he's all right.
Yeah. So what's up with you? You've been I guess you've been watching college football. You've been in the college football?
Dude, Saturdays are amazing. I just didn't realize how much fun it was to be you guys all this time. Like just to do nothing. Yeah, like I get up every Saturday morning, I work out, and then we usually have something, and then come 12 o'clock. Like this week it was the car wash with the kids, but come 12 o'clock or whatever, you're like, all right, let's watch some football. And then you come 7 o'clock, you're still watching football. It's amazing. Like usually traveling and doing all that stuff. So this has been awesome. I see why you guys love college football so much.
All day affair.
All day affair of eating and watching college football.
What do you think about Dion?
I think
prime time.
I think he's doing exactly what he wanted to do. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to bring eyeballs to Colorado, and I didn't expect the product to be very good. And I mean, obviously, back down to earth, USC and Utah, what is it? I guess it was 69-14 at halftime, combined those two games. So it's been ugly, against the better teams, but he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, and that's bring recognition. And now it's gonna help in recruiting, and people are gonna want to go to Colorado. Yeah, and they're going to the Big 12. I mean, they're leaving the conference too, the Pac-12, which would be. They're going to go to a league that will be way easier to compete in. I think he's doing exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I would want to go play for Dion.
Yeah. I mean, like Travis Hunter, the kid that plays both ways, it's like, hey, you can talk to anybody you want about how to do this. I'm the only one that's ever done it. He was like, I did it in the pros. I played a little bit of offense and played defense. Like, I kicked return. Just let me teach you how to do it. A punt return. Let me teach you how to do it. I mean, it's pretty powerful. Obviously, he's got a magnetic personality, and he's a big believer, by the way. Like, he's a huge believer, and I love the way he talks about his faith. But it's different, and when it's different, people don't like it as much. When it's bold and in your face, and I mean, just 60 minutes. Who's the best coach in college football? Well, you got a mirror? I mean, but that's Dion. And the thing about it is, when you play for Dion, like, there's a lot of people that are coming for you because of your coach. Like Dion doesn't necessarily back it up, which is the interesting part of that. Are you making it easier on your kids? Probably not. Are you making it a little bit harder? But that's also the persona that comes with Dion, because he's got a larger than life persona. He always has, man. That's why when we were younger, we watched him with the Falcons and the Braves. You're like, this dude's awesome, like always fun to watch.
Got all those celebrities on the sidelines.
Oh yeah, the jewelry's flowing. Like some people like that, some people don't. But I mean, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. That's not your. Listen, not everybody's gonna like you in this world. That's part of it, and I think Dion realizes that. He's not lacking confidence. Dion's got enough confidence for all of us, I think.
I think he's great. And I think he's good for college football, and I'd go play for him.
Yeah.
The Rock.
I wouldn't mess with that dude. I wouldn't put your hands on that dude. That dude's another level. He's the older you get, the easier it is to build a little bit more muscle and get bigger. And good Lord, he's a rocked up human being, that is for sure. But they got him coming out. The celebrities have definitely come out.
The Rock knows what he's doing.
He knows what's cooking.
So I thought we'd dive in. At church, we've been studying through 2 Timothy, and I thought we would just talk about some of my messages.
Okay.
Applicable.
Applicable? Okay.
Is that the word?
Yeah. It's not what you said.
It's amazing that I get paid to speak publicly.
It is.
I have a hard time saying a lot of different words.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Jennifer's like correcting me between services.
That's okay. Hey, a good wife is going to do that regardless.
I told her last night, because I said, just feel free to make any suggestions you want.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, like it doesn't bother. I appreciate the help.
That's good. Did she have any for you?
Well, she did yesterday. She said I said trespassing instead of trespassing.
Okay.
And so she corrected me between services. So I don't know, Woj, can we post the second service?
Yes, that's the plan.
Yeah, I said it right the second service.
Now let me ask you a question, because I wonder this. I do that with my wife a lot. I 100%. I say, baby doll, like, do you have anything that and mine isn't always sermons like that bothers you that I could do better, like anything with the kids that I could do better. I want to know, does she ask you the same question in reverse? Does she ask you if you can give her any critique or anything that she needs to work on?
Not really.
Mine does not either.
Sometimes.
So I know, what that means to me. I know, like, just keep your mouth shut. Yeah. Like that's not what she's looking for from me. She doesn't need what I need to work on, what I think about certain things. If she really wants me to do something, then she'll go ahead and let me know.
Yeah, sometimes Jennifer will ask me about fashion, like
oh Lord,
like is this in style or not?
Oh,
and I always respond the same. Oh, you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah,
looks good to me.
I don't know why she would ask you about fashion ever.
Looks good to me.
I got the best tip, and this is perfect for the podcast, family friendly. Best tip I can give any men out there: when your wife tells you about the bathing suit and she asks you how I look in a bathing suit and like how does it look? Do you like it? I do the same thing all the time, because I'm not gonna go into this world and get critiqued and stuff. I think you look great always. She's like, how does this look? How's this? I'll take a picture. And I'm like, you tell me how you think it looks.
That's your advice?
It's the beautiful way to get myself out of trouble. Like, do I like that? Do you like the bathing suit bottom? How does it look? I'm like, well, what do you think? Like, here you go. Here it is. What do you think? And it gets me completely off the hook. I don't have to say anything. And
kind of using the Jesus technique of answering a question with
a question. Man, just saying, anybody who needs that out there, if your wife asks you how she looks in a bathing suit, just take a picture, snap a picture, send it back, or just show her back, and good.
You ever ask her how you look in a bathing suit?
I don't. Absolutely don't.
Well, I want to dive in on this. This definitely applies to the family goals, but in 2 Timothy, Paul's writing to young Timothy, and he talks about his genuine faith. He says, I remember your genuine faith that you share, that first was filled in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. And I know that same faith continues strong in you. And so he talks about Timothy first has a genuine faith, has an authentic faith, but it first was passed down then from his grandmother and then his mother. And one of the things I talked about in church is we need to develop a faith of our own. And that's one of the things with our kids is helping our kids develop a faith of their own.
100%.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's just like anything else. If, you're wanting them to grow up and be an adult, and you're wanting to do certain things and be able to handle certain situations, well, it doesn't work unless you help them develop those situations, unless you help them develop social skills. You help them develop discipline with chores, the chores around the house. Like, how do they learn to do their own laundry? Like, we got to teach them, right? How do they learn to speak in certain situations? Some of it's natural, but most of it is taught. So, like we can talk all we want about what we want them to do, but we got to show them, we got to teach them, and we got to kind of ask of them. And I think it's the same thing with their faith. We've got to be able to do that. And I think it's going to look different for every kid too. Like, you're not going to make every kid, like, I don't think you make them, just like with sports. We've talked about that ad nauseum, right? You don't make them practice and make them do X, Y, and Z. I don't think you sit down and you make them make them read their Bible and make them come up with this. But if you do it as a family, and that's what you do, and that's if you pray at night before you go to bed, and that's what you do, if you build those habits, like if you listen, your kids will start to pray like you. I mean, they literally will, right? Like you've heard that throughout your life, and
they're picking up our good and our bad.
Correct.
Picking up
unfortunately
the positives and the negatives.
Yeah, and just like for Nicholas is a calm kid. He's socially learning and figuring it out, like how to talk and stuff. And like yesterday, he went to the Braves game with his girlfriend and their family, like the grandmother, the mom, the dad. And he was like, and I was talking to him. I was like, well, this is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to get there, and you're going to have to meet them. And when you meet them, they're going to say hello, and they're going to say, how you been? Like, and this sounds stupid, but like I literally have to do this with Nicholas because he gets a little bit nervous when he meets people, and he doesn't really know what to say. But then he came in the house, and he was like, hey, I said the prayer for everybody at the table.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and that wasn't awkward at all. He was like, nah, that was easy. And I was like, well, that's great. Like, and I asked him, I said,
he went into this situation, and they asked him to pray?
He said he prayed by himself. He put his head down and prayed. And then he said, they asked, does anybody want to say the blessing? And he's like, I'll say it.
Oh, wow.
So, and I asked him, I said, a year ago, buddy, would you do that? He's like, absolutely not. But it was small steps of, hey, buddy, pray before bed. Hey, let's pray for your friends. Let's do this that led to that. And I think that's one thing cool. Like, so that's a great part of it. But another thing that I think is cool that you can really realize is your faith is passed down. Like, that's a cool thing to know that you have an opportunity to be like, just like, I don't know how this, what'd you say? What was that name?
Eunice?
Eunice, yeah.
Great Bible name, by the way.
Eunice. We should bring that name back.
Yeah.
You should name your babies Eunice.
When you and Lindsay adopt your next child, you can.
This is little Eunice. But I think that you have a cool opportunity to be like Timothy and have that faith passed down from generation to generation, because you see it all the time. Like, one person that comes to faith in your family that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to a marriage that looks different, that is different, that leads to raising kids that look different, and those kids become different, and it literally is passed down, which is, I mean, that's probably the goal for a lot of people that are listening.
Yes, I'll tell you an embarrassing situation for me. So I didn't grow up going to church, and so I didn't know the Bible, and our family, I didn't have that passed down to me. It wasn't modeled for me. And so when I played tennis as a junior, we would travel to different parts of the state of Mississippi. Then you would stay at people's houses. So like when everybody came down to Gulfport, they would stay at my house. And so I was in Jackson. I was staying at this buddy's house, and they were a Christian family, and we're sitting around the table, and they said, hey, Johnny, would you like to say the blessing? Well, the only blessing I knew was, God is great, God is good.
Wait a minute, you never watched the Christmas Vacation? The blessing, I pledge allegiance to the flag. You didn't know that one?
Bro, Christmas Vacation had not come out yet.
Oh, dang. Oh, wow.
I'm talking like,
that is an old movie, bro.
I'm in the 80s here.
I mean, I think that was in the 80s when that movie came out. Anyways, what'd you do?
I did the God is great, God is good prayer. Let us thank you for it. By his hands we're fed. Let us thank you.
I thought it was God is good, God is great. Let us thank you.
Well, how does it even go?
I don't know. Preacher man.
Anyway.
So, I mean, we landed the plane, though. It was successful.
Yeah. It was kind of like a Meet the Fockers type.
That's the first Fockers dropped on Family Goals. Yeah.
But it was, but it's cool that Nicholas, you've modeled for him how to say the blessing before the meal, and so he may even use some of the same terminology.
Well, I'm about to go rogue, by the way, and probably totally derail you. But it brings up something that's been going on, and that I've been thinking about, like all this stuff that we want to teach our kids and we want them to learn. What's the best way that you've learned throughout the years? The best way that I've learned how to do any of this stuff in my walk and grow and learn and really be stretched, the best way is for me to lead. I'm honest to goodness, like having a small group on Sunday nights, having a small group on Wednesday, like the best way to really stretch your faith and grow and go to the next level is to lead a group. And listen, you're always underqualified. And you're always going to feel like you're underqualified. But when you have to lead a group, the responsibility that comes with it, the empowerment that comes with it, and then the confidence that you have that comes with it. But when you have to read context or read passages or read things or think about things and then teach them, I think it takes your faith to a different level. And so I would encourage everybody to find those places. Nicholas learned to pray in church, right? Like every week I'm like, all right, who wants to pray? And nobody would raise their hand. I just pick somebody. Like, you got to pray. You got to pray. And then now it's who wants to pray? And Nicholas and William Patterson raise their hand every time. Y'all stop raising your hand. You're not praying anymore. Like, we're going to give it to somebody else. But stretch them. Make them do it in front of people a little bit. Make them feel, is it going to be awkward and uncomfortable? Yeah, it'll be awkward and uncomfortable. Like, that's part of it. I mean, your prayer life at one point probably was awkward and uncomfortable. And then as you've gone along, you're like, this is what I do. This is absolutely normal. So
I don't even think I prayed out loud in a group till college.
Really?
I'd be in discipleship group, and even then it was a stretch. And a lot of the guys in our discipleship group are guys in small group, like men who are just getting going in church.
Yeah.
They've never prayed out loud before. And I'm not going to put somebody on the spot right off the bat. But I think as you get to know them and you develop those relationships and you kind of see that they're growing, they're developing, and say, hey, I'm going to give them this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's going to stretch them. It's going to make them better. So.
Yeah, and you teach them how to do it first, right? Like we went through it in small group. Like I taught them how to pray. Like we went through the Lord's Prayer. We went through the little acronym that we used, ACTS. Like, and teach them how to do it, and then model it, and then slowly let it. Like, I would literally ask them before we go. I'm like, listen, all right, guys, I'm gonna ask one of y'all to pray. Think about the message. Think about what we talked about. Think about we all got to come to church. Think about something we're thankful for. Like, you kind of prime it, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of help them through. But that's how we pass down our faith. But again, if it's not something, and all of this is all contingent on one thing, are you going to make it a priority in your life? Is your faith your priority? If your faith is your priority, it'll be your kid's priority. 100%.
Yeah.
If sports are the priority, if school the priority, like that will be the priority. Like whatever you want to really focus in and hone in on and be known for as a family, you'll be known for 100%. But if it's not intentional, then you just kind of, just like some people don't have like some people aren't good at long-term goals. I don't know where you sit on that, but like Lindsay was telling me, I don't really think about long-term goals. I'm not great at that. And I'm a long-term goal guy. If you're not a great long-term goal person, you dang sure better be a good short-term goal person then, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we got to get somewhere today. If we don't have goals and we just float, we just keep floating and we keep floating and we keep floating, right? But like we've got to have those intentionality. That we have to have intentionality towards a purpose, towards a direction, or else we'll just float and float.
Yeah, I think helping our kids develop a faith of their own is easy when they're in elementary school and middle school, and even of course, when the kids are that age, mom and dad are still like their hero too. Like they look up, but it's when they begin to get into high school and they start to drive or they get into college, that's really where the rubber meets the road. Like, are they going to? And I think they're not quite there yet. You're doing everything you can possibly do, but Nicholas is going to have to decide when he gets into high school and then on into college or whatever he ends up going to do. Is this going to be his faith, or is this just his parents' faith?
But we got to show them. We got to teach them along the way and give them the rope to do that and lead them and nudge them in those directions. Like he does his quiet time every single morning. Like we pass each other Like I pass him going to the hot tub, he passes me, and he goes and sits at the table and he reads in journals every day. And I go to the hot tub and pray for 20 minutes. So like he's building habits and starting to build habit. That's his habit. Like he does that. And one other thing too and listen, I'm not saying we've got this figured out. We don't. Like we're learning it as we go. One thing that Lindsay did an unbelievable job. She's taken Leah through one of these books that she's reading with her, and she was talking about kind of discipleship, and she was talking about how, hey, like we got to get to the point where we can start helping other people with our faith. And so like Leah has a girl that's a grade younger, and so they text every day and they go 2 Bible verses a day. So like she's kind of walking her through right now, and they started in Romans. And she's like walking her through Romans. So every day they do 2 verses and they text each other and send their thoughts.
Leah's discipling a girl 2 years younger than her?
Yeah, a year and a half younger than her, yeah.
That's awesome.
But we're trying to help her. And I told Nicholas, I was like, Nicholas, like who's yours? Like let's find somebody who you can pour into. And he actually does it with his girlfriend. Like he sends every day a chapter, and he sends what he journals and he sends it to her, and she got baptized, by the way, Sunday, which was super cool. We got to go to that and hang out with her.
You showed me the text that her mom had sent to Lindsay about Nicholas's influence in her life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's cool to see. Like, listen, we know they're not going to be perfect, but like if we can keep nudging them in those directions and teaching them first of all, showing them, but then teaching them how important these things, like somebody's pouring into you, right? So you got to do the same. Like you got to find other people to pour into and start with small baby steps. Like don't, like for my first thing, and this is where I stink and Lindsay's really good. Like Lindsay's very good at making it very easy. Next step, she was like, well, y'all do a couple verses. And I'd have been like, why don't y'all just do a chapter a day? Well, a chapter a day is not going to work. Like Lindsay's way better at small picture, but yeah, and that's how she started off. And this will be the first person she learns to disciple as an 8th grader. She's an 8th grader. But it's obviously a small step and something that she can grow and grow and grow and continue to get more and more comfortable with it.
Well, I agree with you 100% that when you begin to lead other people, that's when your faith really, really grows, because you have to know it well enough
to teach it,
to teach somebody else. And then you have to be prepared. Okay, what questions are they going to ask me based upon what the study is or what the verse is?
And then finally, the next thing, what comes after that? Then you got to live it.
Oh, you got to model it.
Because now you've taught it to a small group people who are doing life with you and parenting with you, and you called out how you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z, and it's not biblical. Now it's like, wait a minute, I got people whipping those eyeballs at me, right, and looking at me. So the level of accountability that comes with teaching is huge, man.
Natural, built-in accountability.
Yeah,
we've said this before, probably on the podcast, but everybody needs a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy. And so thinking about your kids, they need someone who's pouring into them. They need an Apostle Paul in their life, and they need a Timothy, somebody that they're discipling.
Yep.
And then everybody needs that Barnabas, that encourager. That we're at the same. We're like running together,
doing life together.
We're working out together. We're doing life together.
Same stage,
same spiritual level, I guess. But I think that's amazing. So having someone disciple on them, someone they're running with, and then a younger person that they're pouring into. And that's super cool. Like Joel and Julia, they did that so when they were in high school, they were discipling the middle school kids at church. And so and they were still being discipled by their small group leader. So,
well, it's so cool because again, there's a lot of things that parents can teach, right? And there's a lot of things that kids are going to listen, but you're as a kid, they really look up to their peers, whether you like it or not, and they're watching their peers. So if you can have somebody that can come down from high school to middle school, college to high school, how much of an influence does that? I mean, for example, for Nicholas, and here's a great one. He has a kid on his football team that he is aspiring to be like this kid. This kid, doesn't have a girlfriend, hadn't had a girlfriend, very outspoken about his faith. We call him the pastor on the team. He does all the praying. He's living his life that's very, very different. And Nicholas has had some struggles with some kids in his grades. They're calling him weird all the time, and they're making fun of him for. And by the way, it's the same thing I would have done. Like he'll say, I don't want to kiss my girlfriend. I have no desire to kiss my girlfriend. That's not what I want. You know, he's going to listen to music without an E next to it. And obviously the stigma that comes with that, and people will make fun of you, and they don't understand it, but they respect it. But having a kid that he has a senior kid that plays football at North that I asked him, I said, how do you do it? How would you encourage somebody else? And I texted him, and then the kid reached out to Nicholas. He plays his position anyways. Reached out to Nicholas, and Nicholas came up to us and then he called Nicholas. So he texted Nicholas, and he starts this dialogue with Nicholas, and then he calls him and talks to him, and then Nicholas comes to us that night and literally was like, "Hey man, thank you for parenting me different." Like, but again, it's because it doesn't come from mom and dad. It comes from someone else. Like, that is so important in our lives.
I have to say how powerful that is, that it's not coming from you. It's coming from someone's a little bit older than him, someone that he looks up to. And it's so important to get our kids around those type of relationships. Yep. And I know who you're talking about. I love that kid.
He's unbelievable. It's Luke Waterworth. What does it matter? That's who it is. Did you know this?
I know. I thought you were talking about KJ Moon.
No, he's good too. But it's been unbelievable that but when you live your life in the same world, like I'm not living in the same world as Nicholas. Like he's in the same world. He's in the same school. Like he's doing the same things, you know, like, so I think it's way more relatable than me saying it at my age when my schedule's totally different. My life's totally different. I'm at a different stage. So I think it really resonates. And again, to me, what it does is I think you can correct me. And I'm not saying this is biblical by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you get convictions in life, and you get convicted, and you get motivation, and you get energy, and you're running towards it. But I think you naturally get deflected, and you get hit, and you get, you're running towards a direction, but you get knocked off. You get knocked off a little bit, and then you start to get fatigued, and you start to get tired. And then you get a word from somebody, man, and you get refocused, re-energized, right? Like, and then you're like, I can stay on this path. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what people are looking for, that encouragement in their life where you can pump them up a little bit and inspire them to keep working and keep going and keep going. Because otherwise, sometimes you want to step off, and sometimes you want to go a different direction.
I agree 100%. I think a good way to wrap this up and just ask our listeners, do you have a Barnabas? Do you have a Paul? Do you have a Timothy in your life? And so some of our listeners, they need to find an Apostle Paul, someone who can disciple them, someone who can help them grow. Others need to find a Timothy. Like we have people who've been Christians for years and years and years, and you have a lot to offer, and you need to pour into somebody else and help them grow. And then the Barnabases. Do you have someone who is encouraging you,
which is just as important,
and doing life together? People you enjoy hanging out with.
Yeah, that will hold you to a standard that other people won't.
So I'd say having that for yourself, but then if you're a parent, having that for your kids. Like, did they have the Paul and the Barnabas and the Timothys in their lives? And if they don't, what can you do to help them find that?
Thank you for listening to this week's Family Goals podcast with David Pollack and Pastor Jay. Do you have a faith of your own, or is your faith someone else's? Whether that's your parents or your spouses, we want you to develop a faith of your own, and God wants you to develop that personal relationship with Him. You hear Pastor Jay say, everyone needs a Paul, a Timothy, and a Barnabas. Every great follower of Jesus needs to be discipling someone else, and they need someone discipling them. And then lastly, they need a peer right alongside them so they can sharpen each other. So who is your Paul? Who are you learning from? Who's your Timothy? Who are you bringing under you and teaching them? And then who's your Barnabas? Who's that person that you can lean on in the same stage of life as you? We encourage you to find these people in your life. We encourage you to find those people in your life. If you need help and don't know where to turn, contact us at jolin@graystonechurch.com, and we would love to help you. If you found this episode helpful, encouraging, or entertaining, please let us know by subscribing to the podcast or by writing a review. You can also reach us on Instagram and Twitter at Family Goals Pod. Again, thank you for listening to the Family Goals Podcast, and we'll catch you next week.